Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of On the Sofa. I'm Monja from our Edinburgh store, and joining me tonight is Kalyn to discuss Clan MacDonald.
Hi, I'm Kalyn, joining you from New York City. And in addition to acting as ScotlandShop's resident clan researcher, I'm also a graduate student in history at Fordham University with a focus in Scottish history. So I absolutely love being able to immerse myself in it, both in my studies and at work. And did you know that we have a whole section on our website dedicated to each of the Scottish clans? If you're interested in finding out more about the history of your clan, then we certainly recommend taking a look.
Absolutely. And Kalyn very appropriately has a New York City tartan cushion sitting there, suiting the city you're in.
Exactly.
What better option to go for?
Yeah. We're taking On the Sofa very seriously.
Absolutely.
Right.
You're officially on the sofa with tartan cushion.
Officially on the sofa with my tartan cushion. Exactly.
Absolutely. So there are over 500 clan and family associations around the world, and we love learning new bits of history and learning from our customers how they explored their heritage and traced their roots. We are by no means experts, so we just love sharing the information. So do let us know if you've got more to add. We love digging into the often bloody and brutal stories, highlighting the lesser known bits of Scottish clan history and the work of the societies around the world. So comment below, or you can always email us in future as well if you're watching this later on.
So this past month, we've been celebrating all things Clan MacDonald. So join us as we delve into this clan's history and discover some of their most intriguing stories from the past and the present. We'll be learning about some of their most famous events in history, famous faces old and new, and so much more. We always welcome your input. So like Monja said, if you're associated with Clan MacDonald and you have stories to share or questions to ask, don't hesitate to let us know in the comments.
Absolutely. So let's get into how it all started. So originally the MacDonalds were the Lords of the Isles, but they have since spread throughout the Highlands. So it's a monumental clan, absolutely massive. There are several branches and vast lands having belonged to them. So Lochaber, the Isles of Skye and Lewis, and of course, possibly the most famous, Glencoe, are all associated with Clan MacDonald. The branches of the clan that are recognised by the Lord Lion today are MacDonald of Sleat, MacDonald of Clan Ranald, MacDonald of Glengarry, MacDonald of Keppoch, and McAllister as well. So a huge range, and you'll find that many people are actually associated with Clan MacDonald, and even through being a sept or something, they are absolutely massive.
So historically, many other branches even existed more than are just recognized today. So like you said, Monja, this is a huge clan, one of the largest in all of Scottish history. Mm-hmm. And because there are so many branches of the clan that are recognized by the Lord Lion even today, there are actually several MacDonald chiefs. So they are, I'm going to list them out.
Some of them are a bit of a mouthful as well.
They are Godfrey James MacDonald of that ilk, the 8th Baron MacDonald, and he is the 34th hereditary chief of Clan Donald. So I would say he's probably like the main branch chief.
Yeah, rather than sort of having split off.
So yeah, I would say he's kind of like the main guy. Then there's also another Godfrey, must be a popular MacDonald name. There's Sir Ian Godfrey Bosville MacDonald of Sleat, Ranald Alexander MacDonald of, if you can guess by his first name, Clan Ranald. Colin Patrick MacDonald, 24th Chief of MacDonald of Glengarry, Ranald Alistair MacDonald of Keppoch, and William St. John Somerville McAllister, Chief of Clan McAllister, which is actually an associated name of Clan MacDonald. So as you were saying before, there's a lot of associated names. So we're even going to get clan chiefs of these associated names that are also going to technically be part of Clan MacDonald. Another interesting thing is that Clan MacDonald even extends over to Ireland with the MacDonalds of Antrim, but of course they don't belong to the Scottish associations and instead have a chief officially recognized in Ireland. But still, so many. We have a lot of, I think this is the first time we've ever had like more than one clan chief to.
Yeah, and so many of them.
And so many.
so many.
With a lot of names. It's very impressive.
Yeah, it really is.
So, Monja, what I'm wondering, if there are so many branches, is this one of the most popular tartans? And so, like, who can wear a MacDonald tartan?
So, Kalyn, the actual question is, who can't wear a MacDonald tartan? So, the list of steps, like we said, is so extensive that anyone from Alistair to Wilkinson and about 200 names in between can wear the MacDonald tartan. So, if in doubt, chances are somewhere in the family line you're linked to a MacDonald, and that is actually my tartan. It's my clan. So
really?
my surname is Heron. So sounds very far away from MacDonald, but yeah, MacDonald is the clan tartan that I would wear. I've got my MacDonald scarf on just now.
Wow.
And like you were saying earlier, I also, it makes sense that I have the MacDonald link, but then I've got some Irish links as well, having that sort of across the water Celtic stretch. So yeah, Heron counts as MacDonald too.
I didn't know that we were actually celebrating your clan today.
My clan this month, yeah.
Really exciting now. This is like
I don't even know which clan chief would be my the one I would go with.
We'll have to get more into the research.
Absolutely. I mean, I think because I'm a sect, I would probably fall in line with like the overarching Clan MacDonald rather than one of the sort of different areas.
Right. But you never know. We'll look into it.
Yeah.
I'm excited now. Okay.
You should do a little bit of digging.
To go on with the name, because the name seems to be very important here. The origin of the name comes from the Scottish Gaelic MacDonald, spelled in a very specific way.
Lots of complicated letters.
So that translates to son of Donald. Actually, everything with like an MAC, a Mac, or a Mock, that means like son of whatever. So that's why there's so many of those kind of, like, I hear people asking like, why is it, all like, why are all these Scottish and Irish names Mac or Mick or why? So I didn't learn until fairly recently why actually, but so anyway, son of Donald. So Clan Donald is descended from Donald MacRagnall, I believe, although if someone knows a better pronunciation of that, put it in the comments, please.
We do our best.
So he's of the late medieval period. So that's kind of where we're looking at here. Donald is composed of the elements domno, meaning world, and val, meaning might or rule. So I'm not sure how this clan acquired so many septs or associated names, but with such a powerful meaning behind their name, I can see why so many people would want to be part of this clan.
Absolutely. I mean, coming from a totally unbiased opinion here, it's one of the best clans. So
that seems like one of the best clans. We should all just be part of this clan.
We're all MacDonalds.
Like, we'll just like forget the McGregors for me. I'm just gonna join your clan. Just kidding. So I want to talk about one of the MacDonald castles.
Absolutely. So let's talk about Finlagan Castle, which is unsurprisingly located in Finlagan, which is on the Isle of Islay, and it's the historic seat of Clan Donald or Clan MacDonald. So the castle is also referred to as Eileanmore Castle, which is as I know it. I didn't actually realise it had another name, but that is, I would say, at least in Scotland, I think that's maybe how it's better known. The sort of
I've heard of it. I've heard of that, but I haven't been in Finlagan, so
yeah,
I'm assuming Yeah.
I mean, we'll go with that. If we both heard that one. So it is thought that the castle was built in the 13th century, so very, very old. And the castle was originally the seat of the Lord of the Isles when they first rebelled against the King of Scots. However, the reign of Lord of the Isles finally ended in 1493 when King James IV had the then Lord of the Isles imprisoned until his death with no heir. So that is when their reign came to an end. And after this, the castle fell into ruins, which is thought to have happened around the 16th century. So unfortunately, fell into slight disrepair a very long time ago, but it's still beautiful.
Sad story.
It is.
That happens every time. The stories of the clans, there's always some kind of sadness.
There is.
That sort of leads me to the next sort of segment here, which I'm sure anyone who's watching this who knows anything about Clan MacDonald is probably waiting for me to mention this.
If you know nothing else.
One of the more brutal events, one of the more brutal events in Scottish history in general, but specifically in the history of Clan MacDonald, was the Massacre of Glencoe. Very famous event to have taken place, very sad. It took place, obviously, in Glencoe in the Highlands on the 13th of February in 1692. And an estimated 30 members and associates of Clan MacDonald of Glencoe were killed by Scottish government forces, allegedly for failing to pledge allegiance to the new monarchs, William III and Mary II. If I recall correctly, they were, the clans were sort of given like a time period. You must pledge allegiance by this date. The MacDonalds of Glencoe didn't do it, so the government forces came in and they just, they came in the night and they kind of, they did it that way while everyone was kind of asleep. And it was a big massacre. But this is also kind of the beginning of like the era of Jacobite rebellions in Scotland. This is kind of what sort of really started it. So this is another really, besides it just being like a very like brutal, sad thing that happened in Scotland, it's like the precursor to all like this other big major thing that happened. So
and you can see why, because it's for such a horrific thing to have happened, I'm sure that got a lot of people sort of riled up to stop anything like that happening again. So it's one of the very famous, very horrific Scottish history stories, unfortunately.
I think it also kind of like does have something to do with the various branches as well, because then you would have some MacDonalds who were kind of, who were Jacobites, and then some that, especially after this event, were like, okay, we're not gonna, we're gonna pledge allegiance, we're gonna do whatever we need to do because we don't want to get, the clans are also splitting up. That way as well during this time. So
absolutely. So a very, very important sort of turning point as well in that sort of Jacobite era, like you said. So and there is actually a hotel and pub in Glencoe called the Clackaig Inn, which it dates back to the 16th century, and quite recently had a sign put on the door saying no hawkers or Campbells, which was a rare reference to the Massacre of Glencoe, which happened in the village there, because the Campbells were, historically very associated with, sort of the government forces and the Black Watch and enforcing that up in the Highlands. So, a little. These days a little bit of a joke, but dating right back.
There's definitely a little bit of a feud, between the Campbells and the MacDonalds.
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the most famous clan feuds is everybody knows the Campbells and the MacDonalds and Glencoe. So it's,
And I think if, you talk to people like associated with each clan today. Yeah. And they'll kind of make jokes about the feud, but it's like you still feel there's like a little bit of tension there.
Yeah, you feel the history. We're all laughing, but it's Absolutely. So let's move on to slightly lighter topics. We've got the Clan Crest next. So the MacDonald Clan Crest features an armoured hand atop a coronet crown, and it's holding a cross. So the Latin motto of the crest translates to by sea and land. My Latin is absolutely shocking, so I'm not going to even try and pronounce that. But this undoubtedly refers to the vastness of the clan, being the largest of all the Highland clans and having control of many lands from the west coast and beyond as well. So it does make sense that their motto is by land and sea. By sea and land, sorry, wrong way around there.
So going along with the crest, many of the branches of this clan have their own coat of arms as well. There's so many different arms that it's hard to sort of choose one to talk about. But I think one of the more recognizable versions features this like rather imposing looking eagle that sort of like takes up the whole thing. And then also a ship that's kind of in the center. But I think that really like represents most clearly the clan's motto of by land and by sea, or by sea and by land, because the eagle representing sort of land, and then, well, I guess maybe technically sky, but flying over.
It must land on land at some point. So.
In America, the eagle is a big symbol of the land, so that's how I think of it when I see it. The eagle's the land, and the ship is.
It does make a lot of sense.
Yeah. Also, as another side note, if you love pipe music, which many of us do, the Clan Ranald, that branch of the clan, they have their own march called Clan Ranald's March.
Makes sense.
Makes sense. So that's a really favorite tune of that clan, and I think many other MacDonalds. So that's something to check out as well.
A little listen to.
Yeah.
So while we're on badges and mottos and things, let's talk a little bit about the plant badge as well. So the plant badge is the common heath or Scottish heather, as it's probably better known. And again, just because it's such a huge clan, like the Stuarts had the thistle, MacDonald having the heather kind of makes sense, because I would say they're the two plants most associated with Scotland. So that does make sense. So the name heather is thought to have come from the old Scottish word, and again, please excuse my pronunciation. I want to say maybe hedra, something like that, but please correct me if you know Old Scottish better than I do. So that word is thought to have been used as long ago as the 14th century. So the plant is also the famed flower of Scotland. So again, like we just said, it makes sense that such a significant plant would be associated with the incredibly powerful clan, and especially with them stretching so much of the land. Then having the flower of Scotland makes perfect sense.
Right. Well, keeping in line with the clan's love of Scottish heather, their war cry also translates from the Gaelic to the Heathery Isle. So they're just, I don't know, maybe Clan MacDonald is the flower of Scotland. Maybe that's why the song who knows? They are. According to you, Monja, being a MacDonald yourself, I'm sure you would say that the MacDonalds are the flower of Scotland.
Absolutely. I will happily go along with that.
Yeah,
I'm on board.
Is, like you said, with the Stuart connection to the thistle, I think in more than one way as well. And then Clan MacDonald having all of these connections to, kind of, it's like the two really big clans kind of just like, well, we're going to take these flowers.
What's the big one?
You guys can have what's left.
Everyone else can fight over the rest.
Yeah, essentially. So going back to tartan, this clan has, I believe, 35 different variations
So
of
many.
tartan because of all the branches. And then each clan that we've, or each branch of the clan that we've been talking about seems to have like several variations then within themselves, be it like modern or ancient or weathered. So can you tell us more about what these different terms mean and how they came about?
Absolutely. So, before the 1860s, fabrics were coloured using animal and vegetable dyes. And so that usually meant that they produced quite soft colours, slightly more muted or weathered, which produces the ancient tartans. So that's why the ancient tartans tend to be a bit lighter in colour. And quite often people say that they show off the set or the pattern of the tartan a lot better because the colours are lighter, so you can sort of very clearly make out each line within that. The set pattern of the tartan remains the same across all the same variations, and it's just the colours that change. So after the 1860s, chemical dyes were introduced into Scotland, so they replaced the natural animal and vegetable dyes, which is when the modern tartans were born with stronger and bolder colours. And it just meant that you can make more consistent colours and dyes as well, because the plant and animal dyes, maybe you could only do it once a year. And again, different batches, depending on how strong it was or whatever, you could get very different colours. So
Right.
yeah, the modern are the darker, sort of bolder colours, which actually the one that I'm wearing here is the modern dress. So you can see quite dark colours.
Yeah.
And the dress tartans tend to have white as well.
White.
So
Right.
there we go.
Is being in the shop, are there, I mean, just because we have all these modern tartans, I feel like the some of the weathered tartans I mean, in my opinion, are really beautiful. Like, do you mostly get people in the shop who want like strictly modern versions of the tartans, or do you get a lot of people that are still really interested in like these weathered and ancient versions?
I think a lot of it does just depend on personal preference. So if you like darker colours, if you like lighter colours, it tends to be what people sort of base it on. So I would say
Right.
the modern's probably slightly more popular, just because it's a bit darker. So if you're having sort of a three-piece suit made, it's maybe a little bit more wearable. But then, yeah, I think some people really like keeping to that traditional look as well and going for weathers and ancients, just for like a bit of a different look, and especially since Outlander and everything became so popular, they use a lot of weathered sort of tartans in that. So if you're going for that look, weathered is the way.
Yeah, I've got my weathered Fraser.
Oh, your serape.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that I'm sure everyone who watches these has seen more
Oh,
than one.
absolutely.
No,
and that,
but
again, that's such a beautiful tartan.
yeah, if you're going for that kind of look, that's really great. And I can see how, like, for, even besides like doing like a whole like three-piece suit, like you said,
Yeah.
maybe sometimes if you're trying to add like a pop of color, like your scarf that you
Yeah.
have, you might want something a little
brighter.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. No, I agree. It's just sort of personal preference. When you found your tartan, and again, if you're like me and you've got your MacDonald's, you've got every option, all the
You've got
colours.
35 different options, Monja.
35 different options.
I don't know how you can choose.
I don't. I'm so indecisive. It's ridiculous. So having 35 options is maybe not a good thing for me.
Yeah. Wonderful. Well, let's move away from tartan for now to move to one of my favorite parts, which is our famous faces, because I love researching the famous members of each of our clans of the month. They're so fun to learn about. So
there's always something surprising.
People are really surprising, or people that you knew, like modern people that you know who they are, like actors or singers or something, but you like it didn't register with you, like that they were part of a clan, even if you did know their last name. So it's pretty cool. But I tend to, being the the historian here, I tend to kind of lean toward liking to learn about the historical figures. So as you can imagine, historically, there were a lot of famous MacDonald chiefs because there were so many MacDonald chiefs.
There's so many now, let alone.
And there are still so many now. So in reading about all of them, I found Alexander MacDonald, who was Lord of Islay during the 13th century. I found him to be very interesting because historians can't quite figure out why he died, which is like an interesting thing. There are like two
mystery.
So there are two views as to when and why he died. The first is that he was killed by the MacDougalls in 1299 in Ireland, though this may have been his uncle who was also named Alexander. That's kind of why it's hard. The documentation is like it could have been either one. The second is that he fought against Robert the Bruce in Galloway in 1308, was captured by Edward Bruce, escaped to Castle Sween in North Knapdale, was recaptured by Robert the Bruce and taken prisoner to Dundonald Castle in Kintyre, where he then died. So I'm going to lean more towards this second theory, given that there is like pretty clear documentation that he was succeeded as Lord of Islay in 1308 by his brother Angus, who was a well-known ally of Robert the Bruce. So I'm thinking if he was succeeded by his brother in 1308, then it makes sense that he died in 1308 and not in 1299. But there is that little kind of as a historian, specifically of Scottish history, there's so much history, but there's like this much like very clear documentation. And as we know, like a lot of people had the same name, and it's just like it's really hard to figure out who was who and stuff like that. So I think it could be either one. I see why there's a discrepancy, but I'm gonna go more toward like probably this like very like more exciting kind of was captured by Robert Bruce, like gone at his own brothers against him. That's a lot more exciting.
I agree with you, and it's a bit I mean there must be some dodgy if his brother was on the enemy's side, and I'm sure his brother maybe had a sneaky hand in a few bits along that story.
And his brother probably wanted to be Lord of Islay.
Yeah.
So,
Not worth killing over, but...
So anyway, that was my favorite to learn about this month so far. But there are a lot of other really famous MacDonald clan chiefs, and as you said, even today they're still making history. So that's exciting. So Monja, who was your favorite MacDonald to read about this month?
Well, mine is the opposite side of the spectrum, very modern day. So we know a lot more about her.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I really like her as an actress anyway, but my chosen famous face this month is Kelly MacDonald. So she's an actress from Glasgow. So my neck of the woods, not too far from Edinburgh, which is very exciting. So she's very well known for her roles in Train Spotting, Nanny McPhee, Boardwalk Empire, and Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. And of course, the best film of all, the Scottish animated film Brave.
Can't leave
unbeatable,
that
unbeatable. Yeah. So, I mean, she's basically had a hand in all the big Scottish sort of modern day films.
Right.
So she's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And so she actually got her start while working as a barmaid in Glasgow, which I also think is amazing. So she saw a leaflet advertising an open casting session for Train Spotting and decided to audition, and she actually got the part, and the rest is history from there. So pretty big film for your first I'll give it a go sort of thing.
Yeah, just serving up, whatever. Pour in a few drams and just, I guess I'll just go audition for Train Spotting, whatever that is. And then,
job done.
And then you're in Brave,
Then you're in Brave.
Potter, forget everything, you're in Brave.
Brave is the big one.
Awesome. That's really cool. Because, not all of our famous faces are always really from Scotland.
No, not always.
So it's cool to have her from Glasgow.
Yeah. And I mean, MacDonald is such a common name in Scotland that I think if we couldn't find a Scottish MacDonald, it would be a poor show, I feel.
Yeah. Right. Well, so now we're going to move on to some of our stories. I have a story to share, actually. My boyfriend, Greg, is a MacDonald. He actually has a more clear connection to Scotland than I do, really.
Oh, amazing.
Because my connection to McGregor is really through like an associated name, whereas his grandmother was a MacDonald. And her family lived in Nova Scotia. But, we're kind of assuming previously came from Scotland if they're MacDonalds and they arrived in Nova Scotia. And she traveled to Scotland at least once and got some things. I have them that Greg's mom sort of gave to us, just some nice things. We have a kilt pin with the MacDonald Clan Crest. I don't know where that is, but just some mementos to show like what people from Scotland so she lived in Nova Scotia and then they eventually moved here to America. So it's kind of cool. This is the kind of thing that American Scots will kind of go to Scotland and bring back to then pass down. So we have that kind of thing here now, very popular thing to collect. But so Greg being a MacDonald, I mean, to be fair, some of it might also have to do with me, but Greg is very, really kind of involved here in the Scottish community. He's a drummer. He plays the snare drum for the New York Caledonian Club pipe and drum band. He's, got his kilts. He's actually very into kilts. He works in a school and he's kind of like, I wonder what would happen if I just like wore a kilt to school one day. And I'm like, you don't do that in Scotland, Greg.
Should have done that for St. Andrew's Day.
Yeah, but it's pretty cool. His connection to Clan MacDonald and also to Nova Scotia as well, because that's kind of its own cool thing. But yeah, that's sort of the story.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, there we go. We've both got our sort of personal MacDonald links this month. Yeah. So it's quite exciting.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. But it sounds like a lot of people will have connections to Clan MacDonald.
Absolutely. So if you do have any watching, then do send us your stories, and you can have a look out. We'll be releasing a blog as well with some customer stories on there as well. So send us them in if you've got any, and we can add you to the blog as well. We always like to sort of find out where people have come from, where the MacDonalds are spread across the world. So
right. And if you're not sure if you are a MacDonald, you can go on our clan page, and we have many of the associated names, although there are a lot more. So if you're not sure, you can put your name in the comments, or you can send us an email, and we can try to find that information for you.
Definitely. It's always worth checking and doing a bit of digging if you're not sure.
For sure.
So I believe that is everything for tonight. We've just got a couple of questions that we've been sent in. And so, Kalyn, do you want to take it away? Start with our first question.
Yeah, so our first question comes from Pamela, who wants to know how the MacDonald clan became so important during medieval times. So I would say that it goes back to the Angus MacDonald that I was talking about before, the brother of Alexander. So Angus, as I said before, showed a lot of loyalty to Robert the Bruce during the wars of Scottish independence and thereafter in battle. So even against his own brother. So after all these events, Bannockburn and such, Clan MacDonald, because of Angus, had been granted the honored position of the right-hand side of the monarch. So they were kind of really elevated in status. So I would say that is probably like has a lot to do with their sort of level of power during the medieval period.
That does make a lot of sense to sort of push them into that high position, and then
Well, it really shows loyalty if you're willing to go against like sort of your own brother in service of, you know, Robert the Bruce, who was himself kind of a symbol of being in service of Scotland as a whole. Then I would say that you've kind of won your place there. So
oh, definitely. I don't know what more you can really do for someone. So our second question is from Stephen, who wants to know how he can get involved with Clan MacDonald. So the best way is probably to join a clan society. So if you're in America near Kalyn, then there's the Clan Donald Society USA. So membership is open to all eligible MacDonalds, and it does offer a lot of support for those wanting to explore their Scottish heritage and history as well. So it's probably a really good starting point if you're not really sure. You know you're a MacDonald, but you don't know much more than that. So the society also offers genealogy assistance, scholarships, and a connection to the Clan Donald Centre near me in Scotland. So the Clan Donald Society of Scotland is open to all who are MacDonalds by descent or by marriage. So again, that's probably quite a broad range. So if you are interested in MacDonald history and heritage, then the society does have a lot to offer you. So in addition to providing a community for members of the clan to explore their ancestry, the society offers lectures, ceilidhs, and other events to its members. So it's really worth looking into if you're somewhere linked to MacDonald. There's a lot going on. So I would say to check it out, because I'm sure there's something in there for you, be it the US side or the Scottish side.
Right. Right. Well, there we have it. I think that's what we have for today. We hope you enjoyed learning about Clan MacDonald with us. I sure learned a lot.
Me too.
Especially about you, Monja, being a MacDonald.
There you go.
So, filled with all of this knowledge, if you would like to test your MacDonald Clan knowledge, just keep a lookout for our MacDonald quiz coming soon. That's always a fun way to sort of use all this, culminated knowledge, and then just ace the quiz.
And we'll need to give it a go, and then compare our scores.
Yeah. Well, I expect you to, really, really get 100%.
No pressure at all.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in.
Thank you very much. We'll see you soon.